Howdy, folks! Happy Thursday. We've lots to discuss today. We will go more into the sudden resignation of Jim Rutherford and some other items around the NHL. Oh, Funky is already hilarious in the chat. He says I'm the PR guy for the Oilers. Only in hell.
And El Guapo saying I'm the PR guy for the Rangers. If I were the PR guy for the Rangers, why would I say that David Quinn could be fired after one more loss?
Right.
Would the PR guy say that? I don't think so.
Yeah. All right. Russ, start us off with the pre-show.
Let's talk about Deshaun Watson. So it's finally gotten out there that he requested a trade. And of course, it only took a New York Minute for 3 or 4 of the analysts, experts, whatever you want to call them at ESPN, to already say, hey, the Jets should do this. They should trade 3 first-round picks, a second, and Sam Darnold, and do it. And you know what? You know what my feeling is? Shut the hell up. Because first thing is, they've done this kind of thing before, and it hasn't worked. Right. He's 25 years old. He's not the second-rated quarterback in the league like they led everybody to believe in that conversation just to make it sound better. He's not. And he's had an ACL tear in both knees, a grade 3 in both knees. So at 25, maybe you're going to get 3 more good years out of him. After 3 years, if you haven't won the Super Bowl, guess what happens? You go back to 2-14 because all the free agents you spent money on are gone, and then you're back to square one instead of being on the way up like a team like the Bills or the Browns. Don't do it, New York Jets. If Joe Douglas does it, it shows his whole plan was baloney.
Well, first of all, it was Rich Cimini reported that the talk was out there that Watson's first choice was New York. He said that's wrong. That his first choice is likely Miami. And why could you not to say that New York isn't a great market, but if you have a chance to make the same amount of money and do it in warm weather all the time and South Beach and all that stuff, I can understand the attraction. Plus, Miami, I think, is maybe a good quarterback away from pushing the Bills for the
AFC. They've got a lot of players.
So honestly, it makes no sense to trade for Deshaun Watson if you're the Jets, giving up those. If you're giving up 1 first-round pick, fine. If you have to give up a package, that's more than that Chicago gave up for Trubisky or more.
Right.
If you're trading for a young guy coming out of college and you build with him and you have other draft picks, that makes sense. Trading for Watson, who's a ready-made quarterback, for a team that is so far away from being a contender that it just boggles the mind. It would be completely asinine. And this is Deshaun Watson might be the second or third best quarterback in the league because he threw for 4,800 yards. Yeah. He did that because they were behind every friggin' game. That's why.
There are some games where he is just literally just trying to throw the ball deep, especially when Hopkins was there, right? How many times did he try and do that? Again, he had guys. He had Hopkins. He had Watt on the other side of the ball. The Jets have a couple of other guys, so they'd have to spend their $70 million this year on all free agents and put together this team that maybe can compete for the next 2 years. And you know what's going to happen. They'll get to the 3rd round of the playoffs and drop dead. Look at this. I got a Kaya hair on here. Driving me crazy.
Now, what the Jets should do, they have the number 2. There are going to be teams out there that like the other quarterbacks in this draft.
Yeah.
You should keep Darnold. They should trade down maybe 3 or 4 spots, get extra picks, take a lot of young players, and build that way. Because I swear, it's like, honestly, if they decide they're going to do this quick fix plan, they're dumb. They're really dumb. And we're joined in the car by Kevin Allen. Hey, Kev.
Hey.
So you're not driving right now, are you?
I am not. No.
Good. Okay, good. Because usually we have Eck in the car and he's going 75 miles an hour on the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
We'll bring you into this conversation, Kev, because everybody at ESPN today was like, "Yeah, the Jets should trade their 3 number 1s and a second-round pick and Sam Darnold for Deshaun Watson." And you, as a Lions fan, has been through that before too. I don't want any part of it. You probably wouldn't want any part of it, and you're trading Matt Stafford. So there you go.
Yeah, no, I don't like that either. I wouldn't do that as well. I'm watching with interest what the Lions supposedly are entertaining regarding that. said that they're going to get, or at least they think they're going to get third round pick, which they're going to then turn around and add a first and second 2022 and make a run in Florence. Well, that's just absurd.
Do you have any headphones, Kev? Can you put in headphones?
Start by.
Kev, let's disconnect you and reconnect you because your volume cut out.
Anyway, multiple.
I don't think he hears us.
No.
All right, we're gonna
Players.
Text him. Cut him off. We'll text him.
Yeah, I'm gonna boot him off and just text him.
Text him. Ask him if he has headphones too. Might help because I think the road noise was what was interfering, but I don't know. But at any rate, look, fans of the Lions, you're now trading Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford throws for a crap load of yards every year, but it doesn't get him anywhere. I'm really getting tired of this quarterback era where all of a sudden now you're going to spend $40 million on a guy, and most teams are not going to win the Super Bowl, and you don't have it to spend on anybody else.
Well,
build your team the right way, and at least you don't have to worry about being bankrupt by a quarterback that may not win it for you.
Well, this is the weird thing about this. This is the weird thing about this market that's coming up. It could be so flooded with quarterbacks that you're not going to get anything for them. Okay, Watson.
Watson will get a lot.
I know, but I'm just Watson, Stafford, Darnold, potentially Jameis Winston in New Orleans because he's a free agent. Now, Jared Goff, apparently the Rams are not happy with him. Aaron Rodgers, possibly. I mean, you could have 6-7 quarterbacks out there, and then what the hell? So I don't know. Yeah, so I don't get this. I don't and it's a situation where it's just really, I mean, it'll be interesting. It's nice for us to actually be a team like the Bills, who for years were, ever since Jim Kelly, were searching for that quarterback, and now they have one, and they can watch everybody else scurry around like roaches in a when the lights go on.
I know.
So, now, okay, let me just bring this up because we're trying to get Ack on the show here and see if Kevin can come back because we'd like to talk to him about the Rutherford situation. Russ, if you can text him, just let him know to see if he can come back on, try it again. I have to say, and this is just entertainment and it really doesn't matter that much, but we've been bombarded, and I know Russ has been making fun of it because I was a big fan of the original series, and I liked the movies because Denzel Washington is great, but the overdoing of the advertising for the Equalizer, the new Equalizer, that's going to be the show after the Super Bowl on CBS. Yeah. And it's with Queen Latifah. And I have nothing against Queen Latifah. I think she's a fine actress. But she, I'm sorry. We're getting into the realm of, and not political correctness, but okay, you can't have an old white English guy being considered a vigilante running around the streets of New York City. So then
Bronson did it, but I get it.
Right, but okay. So then it was Denzel Washington as the ex-CIA agent, and now it's a black woman. And again, I have no problem with Queen Latifah. I just think they are beating us over the head with the advertising, and I'll watch it for a couple episodes to see how good it is, but. They taking
the fun out of the Equalizer for you.
Yeah, and it's like and I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's like,
I think this is good. I think this is good for CBS, and it's good for you, Mike, to unplug from the Equalizer for a while. I think this will do you good.
Sorry, there is no unplugging of me from the Equalizer. Right there, baby. 4 seasons of greatness.
Is he dead now? Is he
he died a few years ago.
Yeah, I figured. Okay.
Great actor. But it's funny, the guy who was the second, his assistant, who has been in a bunch of movies. He's like one of these great character actors. He was in The Dark Knight. He was he's been on Law and Order. He's been on a few other movies. Argo he was in.
Yeah.
I'm friends with him on Facebook, so like every once in a while somebody will come up in some group and talk about The Equalizer, and he'll say, oh, they'll tell the whole backstory. So it's always really cool to be able to connect with people that So there's Zach. Here we go.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Sorry, we were.
We may get Kevin. We may not. He didn't have headphones with him. The road noise was bad. Then
That's okay. Was he? Yeah, he's driving. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. So we're done with the pre-show. Let's start with the show.
Okay, hold on. Give me. All right.
No.
All right. Thanks, guys. All right. Let's do this. I have no idea what date it is.
I'm going to be the narrator. This is X setting up for the show.
Thank you.
Thursday.
Hockey World. Hello, Hockey World. It's Thursday, January 28th, 2021.
I'm Michael Agello, and I want to wish a happy birthday to my future wife, Sarah McLaughlin.
That was like a dangling participle. It was like 2020, and then he course corrected and said 21. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And that's Russ Cohen. And I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com.
Wow, this is smooth.
This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And yes, I've had some nice, wonderful dinners with Mike's long lost love, Sarah McLaughlin.
Well, future love.
Future
Poor
love.
Mike.
Yes, he's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person. And
Who picked up the check when you had these dinners?
oh, her, no question.
Yeah. See, that's a dream date, Mike. She picks up the check and everything.
Yeah, well,
If I got to be with her, I'll pay for the dinner. Believe me.
Right.
yeah.
Every day, every single time, Russ. All right, let's start with the big news from yesterday.
Please.
Yeah. Okay. So during the show, we get a erstwhile text from somebody wearing a red hoodie.
Me.
Yeah, saying,
Don't want to know what I was doing at the time.
yeah, Jim Rutherford has resigned.
Out. Done. Finished.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I think there was a collective wow in the hockey world.
Yeah, and there was in Mary Lemieux's house too.
No.
Well, this is the okay. And Ak, it was interesting that you quoted. I think it was a radio station in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Regarding from what I've heard, and I haven't heard of anything from inside. Just like people like Elliot Friedman talking about this. There was some sort of disconnect between ownership and Rutherford about the direction of the franchise, which doesn't make a lot of sense because the trades that he made and the signings that he made during the summer were all aimed at one thing: contending now. When the last few years of Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, and now, what? All of a sudden, there's a change in direction.
It's bizarre, and the thing that's being reported on Pittsburgh radio, and I don't often put stock into local radio guys necessarily, but this guy I do, and talking to people out there, I really do put stock into him as as a reporter, and sometimes that is the reality is that these stations that cover the teams, they do get stuff. They find out stuff that they hear stuff. We've seen it. Like there's some people that might not know a thing at WIP in Philadelphia, way back, when, but they not know a thing about hockey, but they would get a scoop on, on hockey
Once in a while, yeah.
Once in the blue moon, right? And this one feels like one. And the weird thing about it is, the rumor is that he was trying to move Letang, and to one of Letang's that Rutherford wanted to move Letang to one of, and I think that's a smart move, honestly.
Yeah, at some point they're going to have to, so why not?
Yeah, if they could move him. And that the Penguins didn't want that to happen. And I think the reality on that is, when you think about it, yeah, Mike, what you said, he's always done everything, to win now. Letang is not a win now move if you're trading him. So I think this is a shift in Rutherford's. Either Rutherford was doing what he thought he was supposed to be doing based on the ownership, and then they just sees, I can't do any more of it. I can't do it, And watching Pittsburgh play, I mean, they're, we watched them play twice in Philly.
Mm-hmm. And they went on a winning streak.
And they went on a winning streak after that. And granted, that was the first 2 games of the season, so all bets are up. But they look terrible and defensively really bad. So I think there is a different direction, and I think that it was probably Rutherford saying, "Listen, I can make a trade here that we can still help us win now, but we can also, keep winning in the future."
But the weird thing is, okay, haven't they won until the recent game? They had won 4 games in a row, so it wasn't like they were playing badly, which would make me think, okay, why all of a sudden? Unless this just came out of the blue and they got, this offer for Letang.
I think that's what happened, Mike. I'll be right back. I'm listening. I just let dog in. I think that's what happened. I think it's off again.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Once we found out it wasn't health related, I did get the feeling that he tried to do something, they didn't like it, and he just went to the golf course because that's. He's won. What else is he going to do there? Changes have to happen there. And until those changes happen, they're going to be one of these teams that looks like they're in it, but they're not. They're not built for the long haul at all. So, not a complete shock there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think we'll know the whole story. But it did. Now, okay, we have to talk about this because this is where things get hilarious. Is now the Alvin, the assistant GM, is clearly a placeholder until they hire a new GM. And
he'd already been promoted, like we said yesterday, when Carmanos left, he got promoted, and we're not sure he was doing a good job in that job, to be honest.
Right. So he's not going to be the GM, and already the list has come out. But here's the thing that's interesting, Ak.
Yep.
Okay, there was a list of 6 or 7 names, couple that make complete sense. But Tom Fitzgerald is the GM in New Jersey, but apparently Josh Harris only gave him a 1-year contract as the GM. So I mean that's ridiculous. I mean, if he gets if they are seriously interested in him, I wouldn't but blame if he jumped from the Devils to the Penguins. But I don't know whether that's going to happen. And the other one is Bottrell, who had a chance to go back to Pittsburgh as an assistant GM, didn't, and went to Seattle. And now that the GM job is open, okay, he's going to go back?
I'll tell you my 2. And one of them broke as a story yesterday after I put up a tweet to Brian Metzer because he works for the Penn Station. I said I would go with Mike Gillis or Ron Hextall. Then all of a sudden, a document that Mike Gillis sent to the Penguins became available because apparently it was up on his son's phone. He sat on it. It got put up online, and people saw it. Now, when you look at it, it's not something. There's no proprietary information. It's just how would he rebuild that organization? And Mike Gillis is a smart guy. Actually, I think he could do it. And I do think a lot of those things in there make sense. And one of them that he said was, hey, not being afraid to have people, say it's the wrong way to go, but it's the right way. He worded it differently. But that is a smart thing to do because you know what? They have to blow things up eventually. And if they want to be a contending team on the fly, then you know what? You're going to have to trade a piece a year. Trade Letang this year. Trade Malkin next year. They're going to have to do that and draft a lot better and not get rid of all their assets because they're pretending that they're a Stanley Cup team anymore. And I think Gillis can do that. Clearly, Hextall can do that. But I think ownership doesn't want to do that, Eck.
No, I mean, I don't think they would do either. I mean, my guy would be Fuda,
but he wasn't even mentioned as a possibility.
He wasn't even mentioned.
I'm not saying, I'm not saying, I heard him being the guy that they're getting. He would just be the guy I would go.
He would work it the same way as Hextall, and I'm not sure they'd want to do that. That's
right. And you have to realize this. I mean, the way to go for most teams is, spend the money on your existing players, but also spend resources on your infrastructure, on scouting, on developing. And the thing is, that's costly. Teams like Montreal and Toronto and Tampa Bay, they're doing that, and those efforts will pay off in the end for those teams. You see it paying off for the Leafs in terms of prospects like Sandin and Robertson, and with Montreal with Romanoff and all the kids that the Tampa Bay does. Pittsburgh, they've drafted a few good players, and Rutherford, they drafted Philip Hallander, who's a decent prospect, and they included him in the deal for Kasperi Kapanen,
and that's going to hurt them.
And that's going to hurt them. They have like one, or they made a trade. They made the trade with Minnesota, and didn't they include Addison in that deal?
Yeah, but they have Sam Poulin. They have a few, and they used to be a great drafting and developing team, like up until like 2015. But also, they've lost a lot of front office guys, Bill Guerin included, Bottrell.
Yeah.
And it's all had an effect, and it was all on Rutherford essentially. And again, you only have so many magic bullets as a GM, like to be able to pull off these magnificent trades and have your team make it to the Stanley Cup. If everybody could do it, nobody would ever lose a job.
But here's the issue, in terms of them finding a new GM. Okay, based on if the reports are true and based on why Rutherford decided to say I'm resigning. If you're a new GM, you're going to have to conform to what ownership wants you to do, which means you're walking into a situation where, okay, I can't blow this up. I've got to go and win now. Okay, so that to me, you're not going to get a big time GM. You're not going to get a Hextall. You're going to end up with John Ferguson Jr.
They may end up with Peter Chiarelli, who seems to be one of the leaders. And
Peter Chiarelli will take any job right now after how he screwed up.
That's my point. He will not only take the job, but he will probably take direction from ownership too.
Exactly. But is that good for the franchise to take somebody?
But it's their franchise. Like, this is what I think they want to do. Heck, I surmised yesterday, and I don't know what your feeling is. Mike and I threw it around with Mike. I think in the next couple of years, Lemieux is going to sell his shares anyhow to Burkle. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. Do you ever hear anything about it? What's your feeling about that? And he'll be a small minority owner. But
I haven't really heard anything about it. I think it would make some sense, but I don't. The question is, how much does Mario love being an owner of an NHL team? That's the question, I guess.
Right.
And I mean, Burkle has a lot of money all over the place and different things. I think it would be bad for the Penguins. I think Lemieux keeps them really. I think Lemieux is a good influence on them.
But is he a good influence on Burkle? I'm not sure. Like, I'm not saying Mario's doing anything wrong. I'm not sure Burkle listens to him anymore.
Yeah, I think you have to listen to Mario Lemieux. I think you do. I think he still listens to him. I mean, how much he listens, it's always up to date. I don't know the inner workings.
Yeah, and I don't either.
Just quick breaking news here. The NHL just sent out a notice that the Vegas-St. Louis game is being postponed. There was talk about Vegas having more, remember the last game, Kelly McCrimmon was behind the bench with the AHL coaching staff because DeBoer and his coaching staff, they didn't test positive, but they were exposed and they didn't know. And there was some indications that there were some other potential positives. So, and we have to prepare for this. This is the things that are going to.
Yeah, you figure. I mean, honestly, this is how a fan should figure it out, and media too. Like, every day, a game's going to get canceled.
Yeah, you're just going to expect it. I mean, especially. I mean, there is a recent, decrease in cases, which is good. Perhaps there's some things happening there, with the vaccines that are good.
No, Terry's got this wrong. He's talking. Tim Hunter. He means Mark Hunter.
Right.
Mark Hunter. Yeah.
Now I have not heard Mark Hunter's
better nose. Mark Hunter, much better nose than Tim Hunter.
Well, wait a second. I mean, Mark Hunter didn't get punched in the face by George Laraque or Dave Semenko. Mark Hunter was a tough player back in the day.
Hunter and Mike Ricci, those are the two that.
Mike Ricci's got the nose,
They can eat a hoagie in the rain.
That was a natural Ricci honker.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll tell you what I know of Mark Hunter because I've spoken to him.
Good guy,
super smart guy, loves hockey. But they've got a big business with the London Knights, and if he comes in for a job, he wants to do it his way. There's no.
I agree with that, and I think that it's funny. Mark Hunter does not have the respect around the league that he has in Toronto for whatever reason when it comes to general managing. And I'm not saying that that's the wrong thing or whatever.
I think that the reason for that act is that because everybody knew Lou was going to be a temporary salve on the wound in Toronto. They brought him in to sort of control Babcock for as long as possible and keep him in check. But they knew eventually the GM would be one of two people, Dubas or Hunter, and there was two factions.
Yeah, I think there were two factions. There very much were two factions, and really more or less, I think that when you talk to people, they just I would bring up Mark Hunter a lot, especially right after Dubas got hired. I would be like, I'd bring up, hey, so maybe you're looking at Mark Hunter. No, it was really quick to dismiss Mark Hunter right off the bat. I think part of that is because they felt like he did want to remain in the Toronto system, but for a while, maybe thinking that Dubas wouldn't work out or something. I don't know, but yeah, I don't think that he just doesn't have like Mike Fuda has more of a Hextall. These are guys that have more of a thing out there with among the league, and the league's another thing because the league plays a big role in GMs.
To Russ's point, I think Fuda is in the same. It would be in the same mindset as Hunter, as Hextall.
Yeah.
He would want to come in with full autonomy to make decisions and to build an infrastructure on that team and use his qualities as a recognizer of talent to be able to. I don't think that's what's going on in Pittsburgh right now. I don't
either. I think they're worried too. I think they're worried too. Before Mario owned the team, going back to that, like Chicago worries about that. But at some point, you just, you can't worry about it, and you have to just trust your guys.
You do.
And do well in the draft and sign good free agents and get cheaper free agents overseas and hope it works out. I mean, that's what you have to do.
Or, do the Pittsburgh thing and put an AHL team on the ice for 5 years and let it go from there.
Right.
Christopher Patton in the chat brought up Ray Shero. Could they go back that direction?
I mean, we talked about it yesterday. I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think he did a good job there. I thought he
did. I just think New Jersey was a different thing for Shero. I think based on the ownership there, I think it was harder for him to do what he really wanted to do.
Yep,
and so I think he tried to force a few trades as a result. I think he could do a better job in Pittsburgh.
There was more of a pressure to we got to be good right away.
Correct.
And they really pushed Crosby, and when you have Crosby and Malkin, you've got to win right away. And Shero made that happen. He did make it happen. I mean, for what it's worth,
you got to stop that mold now. Like, you can't just go in there and start making trades again because A, you don't have a lot to trade, and B, how long is that going to last? Like, it's just
you're not going to get like another generation. Chances are you're not going to just land another generational player.
Oh, why not? They got Lemieux, they got Crosby.
I know they got one on. I mean,
they traded up for Fleury. Yeah, they
30 years of generational players. Sorry, 1 second. 30 years of generational players right now.
Yeah, I mean, but the generational players don't grow on trees, and if they were to bottom out this year, it probably would help them because there's guys in the draft that I think that could help them in a couple of years.
Well, looking at their roster and looking at and projecting the next couple of years, I think the only one that's going to be left is Crosby. Crosby's got like 4.
Crosby will be the last man standing. That's what I expect too.
Malkin's going to get traded, and Letang is going to get traded, or they walk away in free agency or retire or whatever. So I mean, and if Crosby can maintain a certain level, they can still build around him, but they're going to need talent that comes to the forefront. I mean, clearly, if you watch Malkin this year, I mean, I should watch him a couple games. He really, I don't know if it's there anymore, Russ.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. You're talking about Malkin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, he's gotten out slow out of the gate again. We got to wait until 10 games with Malkin because that's his thing. But look, he could still play at a high level. It's just, he might need to get out of there. He might. I did see the chat room mention Craig Conroy. I love Craig Conroy. I've spoken to him many times. I think there's a lot of Rutherford in Conroy in the sense that he would be a great interview with the media. He would tell everybody what he's up to. He would talk up the young players. If they're looking for that, Conroy can do that. And as far as the other stuff, he'll probably need some help because, he hasn't been a GM before. Well,
the other name, and they did mention this on the Hockey Central show that they thought was a high candidate, and I'll leave it up to you to interpret this, was Chris Drury. But Chris Drury's name seems to come up with every opening now. It came up with Florida, now it's coming up with Pittsburgh. I mean, the question is, how willing would he be to leave the Rangers, and how willing would the Rangers be to letting him go?
Well, Pittsburgh's not far away, so I don't think that part would discourage Drury. We know he is around the Connecticut area, so then he likes being around the metro area. I have had chats with Drury. He is a really smart guy, and he's been working up the ladder. So I do think he's been doing it right. At some point, everybody deserves their break. I couldn't say he would do a bad job because I really don't know. I think there's a chance he could do some good things because one of the first things he was tasked with the Rangers was to start improving Hartford. And I think we both agreed after he was there, Mike, that all of a sudden rookies that came up, or young players, I should say, not rookies, young players that came up from Hartford did do better with the Rangers than the last few years of the Schoenfeld era. So I don't think it's outrageous to think about Drury, but I do think it does matter to him whether he's in that sort of like Connecticut metro area that would he want to go to Pittsburgh, but it's not that far, so he might.
Yeah, I think the thing about Drury, there's certain guys out there that probably Drury's the kind of guy who I think wants to like cut his teeth on other things and get the experience first. Like I think
he might.
His choice at some point, but you talk to some guys and he's like, yeah, I'm not really, because I've contacted people like that. When they come up, I hear you're a part of this thing, and he feels like he would be one of those guys who would say, yeah, not really quite yet. But yeah, I mean, my name's come up. His name's come up too soon for some things, for sure.
Well, it might also have to do with his kids and where they are in life and that kind of thing too. Right,
and those guys really, a lot of those ex-players especially don't want to be embarrassed. They want to really learn the ropes before they get there.
Yeah, I can tell you, here's a little inside thing I can tell you about Drury. The first time he came on the radio show for Sirius, he really did his homework.
Yeah, he does.
Because I got to tell you, to be honest, when one day the Rangers said, hey, we're going to give you Chris Drury to come on a prospect show, my thinking was, how well does he know his prospects? And I got to tell you, we had a great show. His first one, he knocked out of the park. He only got better after that, and he earned my respect in that regard. He always earned my respect as like a hockey guy and player.
Yeah, for sure.
But he earned my respect instantly in that regard. And so I do think he does want to be the best at what he can do all times. I really do think he's that guy.
I agree with that. And I think that you're kind of guy who like, okay, let me just cut my teeth a little bit more.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
And see, because he wants to make sure he's in the right spot.
The question is the Penguins' job as good a job as it was 4 years ago? That's the question.
The Penguins' job is a very challenging job.
Yep.
I mean, you have a team that still has superstar talent, but Crosby is slipping a little bit. Still a really great player.
I think
he still does great things on the ice, though.
Yeah, of the core three, I think he's the one who slipped the least.
Yeah, and Malkin has had a really rough year. I mean, I know you've heard things about his parents, having COVID back in Russia and different things like that I've heard.
But it does take him a while to get going too, Ek. That's why I mentioned that. Yeah. He is notorious for that.
Yeah, and Letang has slipped for sure.
He has slipped, although I think his skating and everything's good. He's just not the point producer he used to be.
Yeah. And they don't, the other thing that teams like that have to have are the really good supporting casts. They just do it. And they've
traded anybody who could have been that. They've traded
that supporting cast from the ones on the, from the kind of cast that won Stanley Cups.
Because I think in another year, Hallander will be playing with the Leafs. And if it's 2 years, then it's 2 years. I mean, that's another guy they could have had. I mean, that's Sam Poulin maybe a year or two away. So they're close on that.
He might be their only like legitimate NHL prospect right now. They're very.
Look, I'm looking because I don't want to go by memory here.
We're talking about Pierre Maguire as a possibility on the chat room.
Oh my God! Please.
I mean, you shouldn't say that.
No. What I'm going to say is he's always floated out there, and he's always the second choice. Bull crap! It's not.
This is one situation where he could get a shot. I mean, this is because this. I mean, there are. I agree. Many times his name's been put out. His name's been put out there, and I'm like, okay, just kind of keep the name as like I want to be a gem.
He knows Mario. We know that.
He's good friends with Mario. Worked in Pittsburgh situation, and he is.
But if that was the case, if that was a prerequisite, then Ty Domi would be the Penguins GM. Because he's good buddies with Mario.
So here's what I would say, Mike, about what Pittsburgh has. Definitely Blomqvist or Klang will make the NHL. So they did well getting those goalies. Poulin will make the NHL. Right. I do like Judd Caulfield. He's years away, though. He's pretty good. We talked about Addison being gone. And then there's one other guy. Oh, yeah, Kasper Bjorkqvist could be there next year. And I liked him in college a lot. But after that, it gets thin. Now, some of those guys will surprise you like anybody else, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, right now they're in second place, I guess. Or first. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, because they won 4 in a row. Like anybody who wins 4 in a row early in the season is going to be high up.
Yeah, and that's what I wrote about yesterday was the craziness of the schedule and how, we're looking at who's where when we have teams playing all the double games,
Right.
It's like in Vegas. I know this is one of the things I want to talk to Kevin about eventually because I know we're going to write about it too. I mean, Vegas came out looking gangbusters. They really looked like they could do no wrong, but their schedule was ridiculous. Like they played Arizona 4 times, they played Anaheim twice, then they finally played St. Louis the other night and they lose. They play a tough team, they lose. I'm not like I told you before. I'm not convinced. I'm not sold on Vegas being the runaway champion that a lot of people have been being. That's Colorado. They're not at the top of like everybody thought they would, but they've had.
Oh no! If you watch them, they are so good.
Oh, yeah, no, they kill some teams and they dominate.
All they have to do is get in it. That's all they have to do.
And they've had a tougher schedule, so the schedule plays
right.
Like it really does. I mean, this schedule.
They just have to get in it. Trust me.
I do agree. I mean, it is fascinating when the 2 games at a time thing really does change the way things are happening and really makes it hard. And now with all these canceled games, you really should be looking at win percentage a lot more than.
Well, it's going to be looked at, and that's the other day when the Flyers, everybody was saying, well, they're in second place, there's nothing to worry about. Their winning percentage was like 4th in the conference.
Yeah, their winning percentage was in 3rd now, I think. But
yeah, and I think it's 3rd now. Yeah,
but still, that's this conference is going to be it's a bloodbath.
It's a buzzsaw. It really is.
Eastern Division is just beating up on everybody. Someone's got to survive it. It's like the question is who will. I mean, and you got to get teams at the right time.
It's like a steel cage match.
Yeah. The Flyers got get the Devils without their top goalie. That helps them. In the other night again tonight.
Yeah, they won't have him again because he's still on the COVID list. Though they're getting Jesper Bratt back, who's a pretty good player, so that'll help him a little bit. The Flyers are putting in Nate Prosser. We don't know for who yet. We're guessing for Friedman.
Mm-hmm.
But here's something we talked about yesterday. I'd like your opinion on. So the headlines for Shane Gostisbehere for literally getting back and covering on one play, but still blowing that play. I saw him blow another one, not putting any points on the board and acting like this was a major success. I didn't get it. Is the bar that low? Is that really what we're talking about?
I think people want, people like Shane, and I think
I like him.
Yeah, but I think a lot of reporters want to say, want to help the guy, it just feels like that to me. And then I like him too, and I'm not trying to say that. I mean, I think he should be playing. I wouldn't have gone out and gotten Gustafson. If you're gonna, if you get that's what you're gonna do, play Gustafson. That's my feeling on it. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of people. He's one of those guys that people want to succeed. Because you remember when he first came to Philly, there was a time when that dressing room was toxic, and Shane Gostisbehere was one of the few good people.
Yeah, no doubt.
And
he went out every night and took the bullet for the media.
Yeah, and he was positive, and he actually turned around some of the players in that room and helped the attitude. He was a big part of that turnaround. That he was something fresh, something.
Don't you agree that if he's not scoring points, he's not really going to help you?
Oh yeah, for sure. And he's got to be. He's got to be jumping up in the play. He's got to be another winger. That's basically what he does.
But here's how COVID has been affecting. I mean, okay, we know that the whole thing with the Capitals, they've had their four of their best players, including their goalie, including their two best forwards, arguably. They get one injury today, Russ. Lars Eller apparently wasn't in practice, and TJ Oshie is their second line center.
Everybody's going to be having these.
I think he could play the part for a few games.
Sure.
Everybody's got those moments, and that's one of the things that I think, in a way, when we talk about the Flyers being in trouble, I think the Flyers' depth up front is going to help them. And I think they're deep.
Well, when they get their guys back, when they lost 2
but I think even now, like what you're seeing right now with the players that are lost, you are seeing. I mean, JVR step up. You're seeing. In order to survive this year, you're going to have those kind of things happen. That's what's going to happen.
I mean, they did talk about. They said Myers is skating, and he might be back sooner. I really have to caution on this with these rib injuries, these cartilage ones.
Yeah,
because it's in between the ribs, right? With Myers, you got to be really sure before you put him in there, because if it goes and gets hurt the next time, it's much longer.
Yeah. No, they got to be really, really careful.
And I'm sure they will be, but again, I wouldn't be, as a fan, I wouldn't look for him just yet. I would be like, just just hold off. No matter.
You're really getting to see some of the depth in the organization.
Yeah, you are. There's no question.
Sooner than you thought you would, and that's throughout the whole.
That will help Ron Hextall in his search for a GM job because the depth that you're looking at with the Flyers is mostly Ron Hextall.
It is. It really is. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, he built the team so they can have basically 6 NHL lines right now. Not all great lines, but 6 NHL quality lines. I think that that's what's keeping them in it right now.
No question. I mean, that's a big part. JVR stepping up is a big part. If he continues to play like that, because we didn't see that JVR all last year. We did.
Yeah, it is interesting. JVR has always been streaky. So
yes,
just like it's the perfect time for him to get streaky when they've got a lot of guys hurt. That's how that kind of stuff is going to make the difference between winning and losing right now.
So who starts tonight, Ek?
I know.
I mean, I'm assuming they're going to go back to Carter Hart, but it's not like Elliott played a bad game and they're still on the road. If Hart loses this game, let's just say he loses, right? Yeah. I know the Flyers are the overwhelming favorite and Blackwood's not in there, so they probably won't lose. But if he were to lose this game, it does put some questions back in AV's head about playing him on the road.
Yeah, and we don't want to punish. AV's in a weird spot. I think AV will play him. I don't know.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know that he should. I think that Elliott played really well last game and should get another chance.
Well, it's interesting to see like some of the little roster moves that teams have been doing simply to add depth because they know they have to expect that there are going to be instances where they're going to lose players to COVID. We saw Pittsburgh yesterday; they signed Yannick Weber, who's a good depth 6'7" defenseman to a 1-year deal, and he went through I think he went through waivers. Today, Russ, Madison Bowie got signed to a 2-year deal by Chicago. I think simply for depth, but I look at the defensemen that they played last night in the loss to Nashville, and
I hope Bowie can prove something with him. But this is a typical Blackhawks signing, like just another Band-Aid. We're going to get a guy in there, and we brought in these European free agents, and we get like some play out of them for short term,
right?
And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're still capped out. Like,
yeah,
it's frustrating for Blackhawk fans. I get it because they haven't decided to rebuild until now, and it's only really because they were capped out. I don't think they did it because they wanted to.
Oh yeah.
And I watched a little of that game last night, and boy, they missed.
Oh, was that a yawner?
They missed Taves so bad. There's just there's not a lot there, and we haven't heard a peep in a couple weeks about Taves and what's going on. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's just looking at that team. Last year in the playoffs with Dotch and with Taves playing well, and Kubalik as a Calder Trophy nominee. I think they got people excited that they could turn it around quickly. And now you look at this team, and it's, in overtime, they had Kane, Kubalik, and Keith out there for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, team I do like the way they've started off, and they're in the hunt, is San Jose. They probably have 3 more wins than Ek thought they'd get, but they are drawing in Sasa Chmelevski tonight, who's one of my favorite players from a couple drafts, like 3-4 drafts ago. And I'll tell you why. This guy is a super hard worker. He's smart. He has great touch on his passes. He knows how to get to the net, and they put him with Marlowe. And I think that's a smart move because, Sheng Pang, who covers the team, was like, yeah, but you worry about Chmelevski's skating, right? I'm like, yeah, but you know what? He's one of those guys that I think is smart enough and has every other tool that he will get there and be able to do it. And I think if someone's going to bring him along, it's Marlowe.
I agree with that.
So, this is another little thing that, the Sharks have been bringing up their younger guys, Ek, and it has been helping them, like John Leonard. Even if they're not scoring every night, it does help the mix. The mix is getting better with San Jose. Look, Martin Jones started off better than we all thought he would.
That's the key, and also, there's no question they've got defense, out the wazoo. They've got some really good defense, and even some of the young guys on defense are really solid. And I think that they have the ability to be something special, but if you're counting on Marlowe to do very much at all.
No, I'm just telling them to, hey, bring this kid along, and maybe that'll spark Marlowe a bit too.
Yeah.
I think he can do that.
I think so, and he's definitely a good leader. I mean, there's no
Yes.
question about that. That's what he does best, you know. But at this point in his career, he's been through a lot. I mean,
Yeah, Randy's got a great point. They're playing the first 14 games on the road. If they just stay alive during that time, they'll be in good shape the rest of the season.
But they did get some good news yesterday. I guess they'll be let back into Santa Clara County. I think it was February 13th. So, you know, that it's they can go home in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so that's a big deal for them, right? Let's just say they're, 6-8 points out of a playoff spot, and they've got all those home games. That's not bad for them.
Yeah, not bad at all, honestly. I agree. So Jake Ottinger will get a start tonight. You saw that or not?
Well, yeah. I mean, my question is, have we
by Rick Bowness that he's gonna start his first NHL game?
My question is, have we seen the last of Ben Bishop? Because we haven't really heard anything about Bishop.
Sure feels that way. I don't know if we have, but it feels that way.
Yeah, I mean, okay, they signed Khudobin, and Khudobin is the number one with Bishop out. Bishop was out from the beginning of the year. I haven't heard anything in terms of, well, he may be back this time or that. No, it's just been, and Ottinger's a former first round pick, so he backed up in the Stanley Cup playoffs when Bishop was hurt. So I'm glad he's getting in there, and he played for Team USA at the World Junior, and he's a good
goalie. He's going to be their number one down the line.
Eventually.
Yeah, down the line, he's definitely going to be number one.
He does need to play. You can't put Khudobin in there every game. But I'll tell you an interesting thing about Bishop. He was really on a stage last year for the Winter Classic, and I felt like it was just right because he was passed over for the Olympics. He's been really good for all these years, and that team was struggling, and he was saying all the right things. And this is before anybody was thinking Dallas could do anything in the season last year, and he was saying all the right things. Everybody felt good. He had a huge crowd around him, and lo and behold, they caught fire. And if that was his last go at it, you know what? It's not a bad way to go because maybe he didn't lead them to the cup, but he certainly helped them get there. And, he had a really good career. There's no question.
A really good career. I mean, he helped them get there. He had his run, that was really his run with Tampa to the Stanley Cup final was really impressive, even though Tampa lost it.
Yep.
I mean, he was amazing in the playoffs, despite being incredibly hurt like the entire time. And he had a really good. He never really got enough, I don't think, credit in the U.S. hockey program because of being with Ryan Miller and being and obviously later being with I want to say Kelly Rudy. That's how I'm losing my mind right now. Like John Quick, right?
Oh, John Quick. Okay.
Being with John Quick and so Bishop never really got like that. He should have been more important to the U.S. program than I think he ever got to be.
The injuries have killed him.
They've killed him for sure. There's no question.
I mean, remember he got injured in that cup final against Chicago, and they had to put a young Vasilevsky in there.
Yep.
He gets injured for Dallas. The one time he did stay healthy, the Dallas, who was a severe underdog, almost beat St. Louis, who won the cup final. And then the following year he gets hurt and he can't play, and Khudobin carries them to the final. So it's like injuries really have killed him. I remember he was like 26 or 27 when St. Louis traded him to Ottawa and then Ottawa to Tampa. He was an older goalie. He had played in the AHL for a few years. So we may have seen the last.
I think we've seen the end of it. I mean, he was going to be the St. Louis goalie of the future. I mean, he's from St. Louis. St. Louis picked up. That was his story, and that never was the story. Yeah.
A team that has needed a number one goaltender since Jacques Plante and Glenn Hall.
Right, they screwed it up. I mean, they really screwed him up. They screwed up. They should have held on to him. But I think there's your typical thing that you get sometimes where a city feels like somebody from your own town can't be as good as somebody else from someplace else.
No, that's true. I mean, you've said that before too.
Stanowski didn't work there.
You see it. The top leading defensive scorers in the NHL right now. Pretty interesting.
Makar and Quinn Hughes.
Makar and Hughes, the top two scoring defensemen in the NHL right now. I mean, that's not shocking, but you're talking about like the two guys that were going for the Rookie of the Year last year.
Yep.
Two sophomore defensemen leading the league.
Well, if you remember, I picked Makar to win the Norris this year.
Yeah, and he's on his way. I mean,
He's won. Here's the thing about McCarr. And it took me a little while to get on board. I probably didn't rank him as high as I should have. There were some other people that were forcing me to look at it more, and I did. And I was like, I'm not there yet because – and I feel better about the AJHL now than I did then. That's part of it. But he's won everywhere he's gone. He's won a gold medal. He almost won a national championship with a team that definitely shouldn't have been in the national championship. You know, he won the Hobie Baker. He won the Calder Trophy. Like, this guy is a winner.
Oh yeah, no, he's definitely a winner, and now he's just looking more and more and more impressive. I mean, it's really incredible to watch it.
He's very nonchalant about it in the sense about talking about himself. He really, you know, he's not that guy. And Quinn Hughes, same thing. He really doesn't like talking about himself either, but he is a guy that I think people underrated even more than McCarr because he was proving it and people doubted it because of his size. And so in that draft, he did slip a little. We all know that. He had the talent to go higher. And I do feel like that next year when he played the NHL, people were like, oh, we don't like what we see out of Quinn Hughes. Same thing they were saying about Jack. And we all stuck with him. And now you see how great this guy is. He's changing the position with a lot of the things he does, with the way he brings the passes he makes, the way he brings the puck up the ice without even thinking about it, knowing exactly where he's going with the puck. I mean, I saw that when he was playing with the NTDP. It was crazy how smart this kid is. And, you know, so it's an amazing thing to see, but it's a great
I love
thing
watching
to see.
him. I mean, we love watching Hughes play. He really, it's rare. It's hard to sit there and say that somebody reminds you a little bit of Paul Coffey, but
I think there is some Paul Coffey in him.
It's just like because you know, I always look at when I think of smooth skating defenseman, I think of Niedermeyer. Like, you know, he's the first one that comes to my mind. Scott Niedermeyer, smooth skating, incredible.
Yeah,
like just, you know, great two-way defenseman.
Yeah,
but Hughes reminds me. No, Hughes doesn't maybe necessarily have the speed that Coffey had, but
no, I think he does.
He's close, and
if not, he's got the edge work, and these days that's as important as that extra speed.
Right, and he's just a blast to watch play, and that was the thing about Coffey. He just made everybody better immediately when he got on the ice. Hughes does that. I mean, he really does that. He's an amazing talent to watch.
I mean, I'm being asked from the chat room. Luke Hughes is still third on the list, but like I said, he's not Jared Stahl. He's going to be a really good player.
Yeah, he'll get picked up. There's an interesting.
He'll be a top 10 pick, I think.
Business development going on right now in the hockey world, and that is the latest hearing. I'm hearing that Fox Sports is going to get back in the NHL game. We've heard about the concept of, you know, NBC Sports, you know, what's going to come of the NBC Sports show, you know, station, which NBC, you know, that may fade away, it may merge into something else, it may blend into just locally, and everybody kind of assumed that ESPN was going to be the big bidder, you know, it was going to bid against NBC, but it does now look like they're going to have a battle on their hands with Fox.
Well, and I brought this up. We talked about this a couple of days ago, and this is the thing that I look at, because ESPN say right now the NHL games are on ESPN Plus.
Right.
ESPN's got ESPN2, and they've got other ESPN News, and they can put things on one of their many affiliates.
Yeah.
But the problem is that ESPN is also in the NBA, and I think they just negotiated a new contract.
Yeah.
And I was telling Russ, when it comes to the Stanley Cup final, the nice thing about NBC, even though NBCSN doesn't bring, you know, it's 80 million views, but it doesn't bring a ton of eyeballs to the NHL, at least not enough that they want. But when the Stanley Cup final is there, it's on national television. It's on NBC.
Right. That's a big thing.
ESPN is not going to pit the Stanley Cup final on ABC because the NBA final is going the same day. So
they're going to put it on like ESPN2 or some kind of baloney, and we're all going to get mad at that. Right
in between cornhole and the dart championship.
Right.
Yeah.
If Fox gets the deal, I don't want to see Tucker Carlson and
stop.
No, the reality is that Fox already.
Sean Hannity is not going to be dropping the puck at center ice. Come on.
The a lot of NHL teams are already being covered on Fox Sports. Like Fox Sports, a lot.
Like on Fox Sports Southwest and all that. But I did see something alarming with this act. So the Sinclair News Agency, who again, I don't need to get into their politics on television, and they do. They bought up a lot of those regional networks now, so I don't know what that would do to the Fox reach, because who knows what they would do.
And people are saying NBCSN is folding and they're shutting down after the NHL season, which is true. But
they're greater than Versus. They were better than Versus.
Yeah, but I've also heard them. There's NBCSN and then there's local NBC.
Right, that is different.
So the NBCSN itself.
I want to see competitive deer hunting. Come on.
But I think from what I've heard, NBC is still the leading candidate to keep the NHL.
But the only thing is that without NBCSN, how many of those other affiliates are really big? Like Philly's big, San Jose's big. They have a few. I don't think they have more than 6 or 7 big affiliates that way online with a presence. That's the only thing that worries me.
Right. Yeah, you're already. But I think here that
like Washington, they have Chicago.
I think that the big games. My theory all along has been
it's not going to be regional with Fox Sports. It would be Fox Sports 1, which would replace NBCSN, and then on Fox for national games.
I would say FS1 does have a better reach than NBCSN did.
Yeah, but what I would expect is the NHL Network to take a bigger role. And I think that the NHL wants that in some ways. They love of course they love the TV money, but they want the NHL Network to get a bigger role than it gets right now. That's a big deal to them, and I think that those national games, the ones that are being taken off of, say MSG or whatever in New York, to go to NBCSN, they would end up being on the NHL Network.
And Ghostface is right. USA Network may be taking over, but they're so married to like the WWE. Again, we don't want John Cena calling games either.
Yeah, but you're talking about moving the WWE to Peacock.
Well, they are going to be on Peacock for the WWE Network, Mike. That's different than their show that's on cable.
Yeah,
Peacock is just going to take over the WWE Network or buy a piece of it, so they can get more subscriptions that way.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's in a weird time with that kind of stuff.
Flipping the channels through and seeing the.
Actually, one more thing, Mike. Just hold it for 1 sec, because I want to ask Eck a question, because I think this is a legit question. It seems like at the moment, Peacock and Hulu and whatever, they're getting like NBC shows, ABC shows, all that. Why are they getting the best ones now? Because it seems like the best shows are going to the offshoots, and we're all stuck watching the regular stuff, which there isn't very much good TV on the regular, which is included with the cable that we pay for. Like, you know what I mean?
You guys know I follow this very closely, and I also have am a guest on a show called Cord Killers a lot, which is a show about this kind of thing. It's a podcast about this that has nothing to do with hockey, but I go on there all the time. So here's the basic deal. Like all the shows, like the big shows are bigger than everything else combined by a ton. Okay, so in saying that, Friends, The Office, Parks and Rec, there's certain shows that are just big. They are so big.
West Wing,
yeah, that's a good one.
West Wing was on Netflix for years, and when the contract for West Wing ran out and it went to HBO Max, I bet you a lot of people dropped off Netflix and went to HBO Max.
And that's what happened with Friends. Friends is on HBO Max, but it was an NBC show, so it should be on Peacock, because Peacock is technically the NBC thing, right?
Right.
They can sell it more independently than they can putting on like the NBC universe.
They bought The Office back.
Right. They brought The Office back, but they, that's my Alexa's gone nuts now. What is going on? Sorry about that sound.
It's my
Alexa.
Shut up.
Shut up. Thank you. I worked. So so there's, those the bidding for those big shows, and there's other ones too, like the Vampire Diaries, and there's other shows that are just like, incredibly large. They're going to be, like bidding between HBO Max, Hulu, and things like that.
But it's getting even worse, because now you've got the Paramount Network. Now you've got the Universal Network. It's cannibalizing, and the thing is, every show that's produced by Universal is going to go on the Universal Network.
No, but I'll tell you what still bugs me. So NBC has, let's say, This Is Us, and I like it, and it's going for one more year, right? But then 90% of their shows stink, but yet they still produce shows for these other networks that are a lot better, that are what are on NBC.
Yeah. It's a crazy world, and
It is.
I mean, and Apple now is producing great
Yeah,
shows.
and Apple, I watched 2 or 3 good series already.
They have really good series on there. They start off
some good movies too.
some really good movies. Yeah, I mean,
like Hulu, as an example, at Hulu. So I watched Little Fires Everywhere, right? And it was really good. But ABC is paying for that. Why didn't ABC just put it on ABC?
because there was more money to put it on Hulu.
What does that say about ABC?
Yeah, but they realized that they could get more. I mean, because if ABC has to put it on ABC, they got to pay to put it on ABC. So they pay for the production, they pay for all the they pay for a lot. I mean, they're producing it themselves. That's not their.
Yeah, so they'd rather show crap like the reboot of the Roseanne show instead of that, which isn't even called the Roseanne show. It's all
Connors.
ABC is a free thing. Like you can get ABC for free over the air, where Hulu is not. So Hulu's going to pay more for that kind of thing. So you get that kind of situation too. There's
1,000 channels and 100 good shows. That's the problem right now.
Well, right now I mean, I just got this thing called a TiVo. I was always a big TiVo person, right?
Yes. I had it back in the day, a couple different versions.
Yeah, they were the best. And I always loved
a VCR back in the day.
Right, sorry about this.
TiVo was great. Shut up.
TiVo has a street. You can get a Fire TV or an Apple TV or things like that. TiVo has their own one they just put out. I just got one to try it out. It's really awesome, and it's the first one that I've seen that actually does try to eliminate the problem that we're talking about. Like where the show is doesn't matter on it. It's like you basically tell your favorite shows, and it finds them it just puts it on, and you don't even necessarily know if this is from Hulu or Peacock or whatever's happening. So
I mean, I just have a problem with the way TV is programmed right now because there's no inventiveness to it. Okay, like on Sunday, well, I'm watching the football game. Well, tonight we're going to have NCIS New Orleans, followed by NCIS Los Angeles, followed by NCIS.
I know.
You're one of the few people, Mike, probably that's out there that's still actually flicking through channels. Like,
That's true.
I can see, and I've done it a couple times too. And
I do it once in a while because lately
it's the craziest thing when you do it, though. The feeling of when you're doing it, and my kids are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, flicking through channels. They're like, what does this mean? What does that mean? I'm just seeing what's on.
Right.
What's on? That makes no sense to anybody.
I mean, last night it was Chicago Med, followed by Chicago Fire, followed by Chicago PD.
And why have a guide? They still have is it just for us?
Yes. All people. It's so we can.
I mean, I don't buy TV Guide. God forbid.
No, you can buy TV Guide. Still prints. You know that?
I know. It's just crazy.
They still print a TV Guide. And you know how expensive. You know what it costs to get it.
I have no idea.
Here, $6. It's like the most ridiculously cheap thing in the world. Like
that's nothing.
It is absolutely nothing. Plus, with like a digital for it. Basically, the TV Guide is still printing because they have people who want to advertise on it. So
give me
you're just getting an advertising flyer and you're paying.
Give me the $6 and I'll act like Kramer and Seinfeld and call them up and tell them what's the.
If we give you $6, you're going to buy another gray shirt with it.
Yeah. It's like it's hilarious. So but I was looking the other day. I'm like, because I was watching the Seinfeld episode where the guy where they steal the he steals the TV Guide.
Oh yeah.
And the guy who likes Elaine on the subway cuts it up and makes it into the car. I was watching that episode and I'm thinking to myself, man, is TV Guide still being printed? I looked it up. I
can't believe it is when you said that. But again, I get what you're saying about the concept of everything. Yeah. I don't want sports to turn this way, but I think it could, and it could happen with the NHL too, because again, back in the day when I was living in Virginia and it was Sports Channel America, not everybody got to see that Stanley Cup with the Wild.
Yeah, there was a year there. I mean, Sports Channel.
It was
if it wasn't for me living 15 miles away from the Canadian border and being able to get Hockey Night in Canada for that stretch in the 90s when it was Sports Channel America, I wouldn't have seen the Stanley Cup final. And I don't want it to go back to that again. I mean,
that won't happen because it won't happen for a lot of reasons. One, because there's so many streaming
live or the NHL Center Ice package, thank God, is there for people who are like not in areas where they can get free games on cable or on network TV. But yeah, I mean, I don't like the direction it's going. The EPL is on Peacock. WWE will be on Peacock.
You know who's doing it right, and this is really interesting to me, is the NFL. The NFL app Okay, when you get the NFL app, you're not screwing around. You're gonna see the game you want. It's not screwing around. There's no blackouts. It's like you're
no, that's true. They did do it that right.
And so I went on the other, like I knew I wanted to watch the NFL games, but my family was watching something else, so I pull up the NFL app and I watch it in real time.
It only took them 40 years to get rid of the blackout.
But they're the only one who's done it now, Mike. I mean, everybody else is still doing it, unless you have Sportsnet in Canada, which has like a no blackout thing.
Right.
But they're still. Oh, you don't want to know the fights I've had with Bill Daly about the blackout stuff. That's just I
remember.
I've gone through this, and I've been like, this is like, it's whack-a-mole. I always say it's whack-a-mole. I can get everything for free, Bill, at any time. I'm not that smart. Everyone else can figure it out too if they want to.
Amazon's doing that documentary on the Leafs. They did it in football. I don't know if I'd watch it. No, I mean, not because it's the Leafs. I didn't think it was all that great when they did it for the NFL. No,
if you're a fan of that team, you'll watch it. Like that's like that's a fan service type thing.
They did it for the Eagles. I certainly didn't watch that one.
Well, who would?
Okay, so they're saying Sportsnet still has blackouts. Randy, I thought like a couple of years ago in this in our chat room, I remember watching like an advertisement where Sportsnet was advertising the fact they weren't.
Let's put it this way, okay? Knowing this year there weren't going to be fans or tickets in most cities,
most ridiculous.
Have lifted the blackouts.
I've already sent that email. I mean, I've had that fight. He doesn't even respond. They didn't want to I text them instantly, except for stuff about this. Like he didn't want anything to do with this.
He probably just rolled his eyes and hit delete.
Oh yeah, he's like,
But they didn't want to set the
I know all the reasons that they have blackouts. I get the whole thing of it. But the fact of the matter is the NFL plays because we got commercials. Do you want to know why they have blackouts and why we have to watch? Like if you're watching NHL Center Ice, the game will continue in a minute. Things, the screens that come up, just like the ridiculous
local advertising,
commercial breaks and stuff like that.
Because we can't see the local advertising that's being played in that market.
You need to see the NHL Network absolute wow commercial every 5 seconds.
Sometimes they don't even give us that. Sometimes they just give us those people laying something on the ice, like in a mysterious way, like the sticker being pulled across it. We've all seen this. Like, what is that? So. No, why? This is why it is. We could all see the local. We could see the local. I don't care if I see like Joe's Rib Rack place in Buffalo. I don't mind seeing that. I actually love seeing that kind of stuff. When you listen on XM, you get to hear the local. Come down to Winnipeg to whatever call it all you lube or whatever it is.
You don't like seeing the Anchor Bar commercial.
I love that.
Their wings are murder.
I brought this up to them, and I'm like, why is this happening? Because I said on that game will continue. Can I buy that? Can I be like brought to you by Hockey Buzz, or can I throw like a quick second of our podcast up there? So who wants to watch them do this thing on this like thing? And they said to me, the reason that doesn't happen is we're going to sell those spots. Like they thought they were going to sell those spots individually, differently. So when they would go to Coke and they would say Coke's buying advertising for the Leafs, right? That does not include the NHL Center Ice advertising unless you pay for it.
Oh, I see.
That's what's happening. So they're thinking that that's going to be like another
layer,
another monetization, right?
If you notice, when they have and 2 or 3 times during the year, if you buy the NHL Center Ice package, they have like a free giveaway where everybody who has cable can watch the Center Ice package, the free week.
Right.
When they have the free week and you have Game Center Live, you see the repetitive commercials of them promoting NHL Network or them promoting NHL.com.
Yeah, I see here Michael Cohen saying, "I get all the games on Sports Pass. You're not getting anything from jail. Shut up."
And all of those like why we're seeing the WoW thing is because they are still convinced that they can sell those separately.
Forged in fire.
They can sell them separately, right?
Nice.
Yeah, like I said, those knives look like they were forged in the dark.
Let's explore the delayed offsides of 1993 or whatever. Right. It's like what are I don't want to see these things. I mean, so the NFL just said, screw it. They're putting whatever's on television onto the internet, and that's it. Like you don't see any of that other stuff on the internet. You just see you watch the NFL game. It's what you would watch if you were watching your television.
Right.
It's fine. Why can't that's such a simple thing to do, and it's such a better experience, and it makes me like and the NFL app is free. Like I'm watching the NFL games for free. So and why is that? Because
only because they're nationally televised. If these were in-season regular games, you wouldn't be getting them.
And you want to know why, Eck? Because the NFL makes $100 billion
Right.
on for the.
Oh yeah, no, I know that's why. But I had a friend like our buddy Steve Cherdov's up in Canada trying to watch the Eagles game up there, and he's got to watch whatever the NFL network's going to put on there. So that's the problem. But
the Jets.
Yeah, whatever's going to end up being played in Moosonee, Ontario, or whatever. So yeah, to me this is just. Yeah, it's a ridiculous story. But we could go on forever about it, but I won't.
No, but that was a good chat.
I won't today, at least. But
you'll send another chat.
We're going to get in tomorrow. I'm writing about this tomorrow. The Barstool versus NWHL thing.
Oh boy.
I
think it's worth talking about.
Sure, I'll talk about it.
I'm pissed off about it, and I think that it's all that's wrong with everybody out there. Anyway, we'll talk about that tomorrow for sure. So that's a little hint, a little preview.
Right.
All right, there's a bunch of games tonight, which is good, because I don't like the 2-game a night or 1-game a night thing.
Well, remember, it was Monday 2 games, Tuesday 1,000 games, Wednesday
13 games. Yeah. Tonight's like 12 games, right? It's ridiculous. So remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We